Welcome to TikTok Live. Got some magical Mexican copal burning this morning. Welcome everyone. Just want to show you this nice incense. It's not promoting it or anything, it's good for the energy. Copal is from Mexico. It's a very sacred tree. And the resin, just as sacred. So if you're just joining in this evening, this afternoon, this morning, wherever you are. It's morning here in New England. Wherever you are. It's morning here in New England. Wherever you are. It's morning here in New England. Wherever you are. It's morning here in New England. It is most days. All right, let's get cooking here. Give you an outside view. What's going on? For once, the snow is melting. Nice mild day we have here. Smells like spring. It's a nice sign. Today being the new moon, it's time to make some affirmations about what we would like to bring into our lives. As we've spent enough time casting out the burdens, removing which no longer serves. Now we start the engines in the direction of the good for manifestation. That's the plan today. The skies are beautiful, slightly cloudy. Body feels good, healthy. The air is clean. And I am here for you. Yes, I am. I am here for you. It may not seem that way all the time, but it's true. All right, here's our first sun stop. Like I said, there's a little overcast. That's okay. Let's have some copal. Ease into the breath. Today, I'll be reading from a very useful book. Thanks for the love, Felicia. I'm going to be reading from this Practicing the Power of Now by Eckhart Tolle. It's a guide to spiritual enlightenment. This book has changed my life significantly for the better. So I'll be reading this in excerpts. And we're going to do random pages as I go. That's how I like to work this book. So I've just gone to a random page. And what we have here is chapter 5. Okay? Beauty arises in the stillness of your presence. Beauty arises in the stillness of your presence. As we practice the power of now. Let us read and continue on our journey together through the wood. Okay? All right, just a moment. Here we go. Nice breeze today. Beauty arises in the stillness of your presence. Presence is needed to become aware of the beauty, the majesty, the sacredness of nature. Have you ever gazed up into the infinity of space on a clear night, awestruck by the absolute stillness and inconceivable vastness of it? Have you ever listened, truly listened, to the sound of a mountain stream in the forest? Or to the song of a blackbird at dusk on a quiet summer evening? To become aware of such things, the mind needs to be still. You have to put down for a moment your personal baggage of problems, of past and future, as well as all your knowledge. Otherwise, you will see but not see, hear but not hear. Your total presence is required. Beyond the beauty of external forms, there is more here. Something that cannot be named. Something ineffable. Some deep, inner holy essence. Whenever and wherever there is beauty, the inner essence shines through somehow. It only reveals itself to you when you are present. Could it be that this nameless essence and your presence are one and the same? Would it be there without your presence? Go deeply into it. Find out for yourself. Realizing pure consciousness. Whenever you watch the mind, you withdraw consciousness from mind forms, which then becomes what we call the watcher or the witness. Consequently, the watcher, pure consciousness beyond form, becomes stronger, and the mental formations become weaker. When we talk about watching the mind, we are personalizing an event that is truly of cosmic significance. Through you, consciousness is awakening out of its dream of identification with form and withdrawing from form. This foreshadows, but is already a part of, an event that is probably still in the distant future as far as chronological time is concerned. This event is called the end of the world. Beauty arises in the stillness of your presence. To stay present in everyday life, it helps to be deeply rooted within yourself. Otherwise, the mind, which has incredible momentum, will drag you along like a wild river. It means to inhabit your body fully, to always have some of your attention in the inner energy field of your body, to feel the body from within, so to speak. Body awareness keeps you present. It anchors you in the now. So pay attention to your body. The feelings, the sensations. Try to close your eyes and see if you can identify where your hands are, your feet, your legs, your arms, your head. Then open your eyes. Take in the field of vision as provided by consciousness. As you shift from the imagination into your conscious state of being, observe your body, the sensations, your awareness of it. Do it over and over again, closing the eyes and coming back. Tracy, thank you for following. The body that you can see and touch cannot take you into being, but that visible and tangible body is only an outer shell, or rather a limited and distorted perception of a deeper reality. In your natural state of connectedness with being, this deeper reality can be felt every moment as the invisible inner body, the animating presence within you. So to, quote, inhabit the body is to feel the body from within, to feel the life inside the body, and thereby come to know that you are beyond the outer form. You are cut off from being as long as your mind takes up all your attention. When this happens, and it happens continuously for most people, you are not in your body. The mind absorbs all your consciousness and transforms it into mind stuff. You cannot stop thinking. To become conscious of being, you need to reclaim consciousness from the mind. This is one of the most essential tasks on your spiritual journey. It will free vast amounts of consciousness that previously had been trapped in useless and compulsive thinking. A very effective way of doing this is to simply take the focus of your attention away from thinking and direct it into the body, where being can be felt in the first instance as the invisible energy field that gives life to what you perceive as the physical body. So let's try this now. Of course, the way I'm demonstrating for you is through a screen for you, whereas I am having a direct relationship with the woods and this tree. All the same, start to come into the feeling as you try to imagine being this hand. Being this hand coming in contact with this elder tree. And as I describe the details of free electrons releasing from this tree, which serves as an antenna from the earth, resonating a bioenergy field at a frequency rate of 7.83 hertz, the Schumann frequency of the earth. It sends out negatively charged ions, free electrons, which pass through your hand into your body and bind to otherwise free radicals that would wish to mutate and reform the genetic structure of your body against your will and consent. Instead, the gift from this tree allows such impurities to fall out in your next elimination, through your sweat, through your movement, eliminated from your body. Thus, the immune system can relax. The cortisol levels can be depleted, lowered, in order for inflammation to also be lowered, allowing the body to function on the processes of delivering you the psychopharmacological essence of bliss. You feel at ease in the glorious expectancy of the good as these free electrons, through your presence, are delivered to your body. Now, we turn our gaze to the sun. And in the same exact way, we are receiving large band radiation, light, radiant, permeating the skin, activating and converting the cholesterol underneath it into vital vitamin D. This vitamin D serves as a transport mechanism to deliver calcium and other vitamins and minerals to the areas of the body that require it for its proper maintenance and recycling of cells. Of course, within each cell exist 100 trillion atoms that carry the infinite intelligence of the universe, collapsing or reducing itself from a unified field of superposition into form, that which we perceive as our physical reality, not only in our body, through presence and being, but the result of all of our thoughts, this waking life, consciousness, in being. Everything from the rustling of these leaves to the wind that blows it, to the slight manifold movement of the sun and the clouds behind it, in front of it, however it's perceived, is part of this manifold expression brought forth to you by this consciousness that in essence is more you than your physical body, your accumulation of life experiences, your memories, even your genetics. For it is the life-giving principle that allows you to have the formation of your body and the experiences embedded within. Your truth, in essence, is the aliveness of God. As you come to understand this as your truth, time disappears. It no longer appears as relevant, and thus the suffering attached to it, rumination about the future, nostalgic, sad feelings about the past, whatever melancholia comes from this, simply dissipates in the glorious expectancy of God's manifold expression in the now. There can be no other way to heal than to find presence in the now. Think of the words that I'm saying no longer. Receive them as sounds, nothing more. And through your lack of label and identification, the brain seems to know how to handle it uniformly in an orchestrated fashion so that you don't have to think, but rather just be. Living here, embracing the now, in the beauty of aliveness. All these things are reserved for you, made in the image and likeness of this infinite intelligence that some refer to as God, others refer to it as consciousness, some refer to it as being, oneness, completeness, the solidarity of life expression. However you define it, it does no justice in defining its truth. For in truth it is infinite in all forms of expression. It cannot be defined. For if it were to be defined, it would be bottled up. And that's okay. We bottle things up, we label them, we offer opinions, because we wish to make sense of things. And the reason why we so deeply wish to make sense of things is so that we can somehow assure ourselves that there is no threat to our being in the form of harm, or better yet, the fear of death is eliminated when we can define and label things. And that's why we do it. We fear so much the idea of what would happen if we were to no longer be in a body, And I wish to assure you that consciousness continues whether you're in a body or not. Just as the cells in your body recycle whether they die or are born, nothing stops the mechanism of life's expression, for it was never born, and it shall never die, and in truth, it has always been. Infinite in its own light. You. Okay, so got the copal burning. Little Leo says a bunch of things. What's the purpose of trees? It's the first thing I see. Thanks for all the love, Leo. The purpose of trees is to release electrons from a negatively charged Earth. These electrons are designed to give energy to life forms. So there is a thing called an electron transport chain, an ETC, electron transport chain. And what this does is it guides these electrons to mitochondria, which are the furnaces or the power plants of your body. These power plants use the electrons in combination with glucose or glycogen, depending on your energy reserves, where they are, and oxygen, or the lack of oxygen, depending on where you are. But either way, the electron transport chain is designed to use these electrons for the creation of energy. That energy comes in the form of adenosine triphosphate, or ATP. It's the currency of life. So think of it like electrons feed you the power mechanism for the creation of currency. You wouldn't have the electric power to run and print the money that is your life, ATP, without trees or without other devices. I call these the antennas of the earth. Without free electrons being released into the environment, there is no creation of life. So that's the purpose of trees. Now, beyond that, they are our elders. These trees fall into the kingdom of eukaryotic life forms, like insects, birds, creepy crawling bugs, serpents, reptiles, and even fungi. Bacteria is not part of it, but fungi is part of the same kingdom, the eukaryotic kingdom, of which we are a part. And so you could think of these trees as our elders for real. They existed well before human, yet share the same cellular composition. So pretty much everything that you see that is alive with a nucleus in its cell is in a way an ancestor of human. And you could trace this all the way back to the Big Bang, where there was the creation of gold from a supernova in the sun, the scattering of materials, precious metals, carbon, formation of nitrogen and oxygen. And there was a long period of time where the earth was a big rust ball, just a big ball of rust. The reason for it was, prior to that, it was a purple ball that had no oxygen until life figured out a way to create oxygen through photosynthesis. So the trees are very important not just in releasing free electrons from the negatively charged earth, but they also convert all of our carbon dioxide exhaust into fresh oxygen for the creation yet again of more energy and for the survival of our species. They are essential, not only for energy, because of course they also provide food. So really the provision of trees and their purpose is endless, is the answer. In short, please bear with me. Just for a minute. There we go. Okay. Let's continue reading. I pray that that answered your question most thoroughly. Any other questions? Yeah, I'm stressed. Okay, so sounds like little Leo, you've got a lot of mental noise going on. And that mental noise is actually leading to a compulsion for you to write. Doesn't matter what the reason is. It could be for attention, it could be for a number of things. But you are actually unconsciously, impulsively writing because your body is trying to convince you that you have no control. Because of probably pain remembrances. It's okay. We all fall into the same camp. However, what we're trying to do right now through our practice of presence is to recognize that that is not the end-all be-all of our existence, and that in fact, instead of being a mere performer who is just responding on the fly to everything compulsively, we can actually just observe. This doesn't mean you need to like it. This doesn't mean you have to say yes to what I'm saying or to the situation, but instead, it means that you can actually become an observer rather than a participant. And by becoming an observer or a watcher of your aliveness rather than a participant, you heal. It happens indirectly. And of course, the ego, which is your identity, would probably want you to not do that because it can't exist without your stress. Your ego can't exist without your identification with things. Excuse me for a moment. Getting low on this incense here, so I want to extinguish this and take care of it. This is Copal, and it will help with stress. So I'm going to extinguish it now. All right. Put it in the pocket. Actually, I'll give it to the earth. The earth can have it. Okay. What do I do for work? Well, Leo, I usually answer this question in the same way that I am now. Why do you ask? And the reason why I throw it back to you is because the assumption immediately is that I'm not providing anything of value right now. In fact, I would argue that work, i.e. a linear life, job, has very little to offer oneself and others. In fact, it's more like being a slave to money, like imprisoned by it. Most people feel that way, though there are some who work that don't consider it work, while at the same time providing a benefit for themselves or others. They feel the joy of task-oriented living. So what I'm doing right now in case you're not able to observe clearly, there might be a lot of distractions happening in your life. I'm having a walk in a wooded area while giving a discourse on presence for people to heal, reading from a book by Eckhart Tolle. And in doing this, I'm helping people to heal their past traumas, overcome compulsive acts, work with their anxiety and stress. And I can't imagine a better offering of work in the mind of God as human. So that's what I am doing. I am educating, teaching, recording, filming, doing an audiobook, getting exercise, improving my circulation, and doing spiritual practice all at the same time. And if I happen to earn money as a result of doing this, perfect. Because I understand that money is a result of service rendered. By the way, you might have noticed already that there are no gifts allowed on this stream, and I do this intentionally so that you know I have no expectation from anyone. Okay, little Leo asks a poignant question. Why would my community and family turn against me as I'm healing? Let's identify the use of your words, not for judgment, but for practicality purposes. When the question why is asked, you should understand it's because pain body is active. It is a way of saying no to the now. Anytime we ask why, there is a lack of satisfaction that comes in the posing of the question, why? So, to try to understand why you're saying no to the present moment is more important than understanding the story behind it. Because the story will change and shift in order to be avoidant of the truth. Your ego has asked you to ask why. Why am I a victim of these external circumstances? Why am I going through all of these difficulties? Why, when I'm such a good person and all I ever do is do kindnesses for others, do I feel betrayed in this very moment? Is often the question we ask. When we feel more as a performer of this present moment than actually alive in it. So, the next thing is, what is the key word here? Healing. I am healing. You see this? I am healing. When you're using that word, I'm healing, that's the most important part. So instead, the answer comes in the form of the question. Why all these things are happening is because you are healing. What is more important? Figuring out the story? Learning the inner workings of your peers who know not that you are healing? How could they even expect to be where you are if this is new? If this is a novel idea? You've trained them to believe that you're lost, depressed, without, lacking in some way. But you're healing. What's more important? Freedom from suffering or embedding yourself further in it? It's a legitimate question. Because I'll tell you this, Leo. If you give up your suffering in exchange for love for yourself, you will create a huge vacancy of space. And that space will likely feel uncomfortable, like being in the middle of a vast, shoreless ocean. And during that time when that vacancy is there, you will question yourself and you will wonder how it is you ended up here to begin with and how you can escape it and find your destined shores as quickly as possible, for there may be sharks looming. My suggestion to you is, as you are healing, end the story. Close the book and observe. Observe your breathing. Take a breath through your nose. Your ego's going to say, don't do this shit. This guy doesn't understand your life. He's trying to assume that he knows. Don't listen to him. Go somewhere else. Scroll somewhere else. No one understands how you're feeling. No one knows. This is your ego. Because if you are present in this moment, your ego can't give you that feedback. It starts to die. It will no longer be able to affect you. You will be free from suffering. And the ego will be free. And you will be free of it. And that's what you want. If you truly want the answer. Just breathe through your nose. And every time you breathe through your nose, think to yourself, I'm breathing in. And as you're breathing out, say to yourself, I'm breathing out. Do it again. Your ego's going to say, great, you did the exercise, okay. No, continue. And as the ego continues to bombard you with mental noise, and you continue to give it an exercise, you're monitoring my breath. As you breathe in, and you breathe out, something happens. Time disappears. It's not that time flies when you're having fun. It simply doesn't exist when you're enjoying life. When you have control over it by surrendering to it. So we are surrendering to the life situation. Someone judges you. Someone says something unsavory. Someone tries to make you feel bad. You're not saying yes to it. You're not saying no to it. You're not fighting it, and you're not running from it. You're leaning in. You're leaning in and you're observing as if you were a newborn babe that knows nothing of the English language, and you're just observing the energy, the aliveness presented to you in the now. Dan Lucas says, you're such a balance of duality and non-duality. Thank you, Dan Lucas. That's deep. Thank you. Let's see. I'm glad it's nice, Leo. Little Leo says, they don't understand the needs. I'm not able to meet myself. I have autism and PTSD. We're going to talk about these. These are labels. We're going to talk about them. Little Bo Beeper says, you are a very wise man. Thank you, Little Bo Beeper. It's a very kind thing to say. I'm not all roses. As an avatar, as a performer, I'm not all roses, but when God's working through me, truly working through me without any distractions presented by my ego, I seem to hit the mark. Thank you. Little Leo says, they expect me to get a job and pay bills when I can't even regulate my stress and find my balance. Well, these are the affirmations, Leo. Let's break this down like it's a mathematical equation that you're delivering to God for in order to be fulfilled. This is the order to the Wish Fulfillment Center that is your personalized Amazon. It's like this. There are expectations of me, and I can't meet them because I can't regulate something within myself. So you're saying what you can't do. You're saying this is a barrier, this is a barrier, this is a barrier, and it's my reality, it's my identity. What would you do without stress? That's the question. What would you do without your identity as a person with PTSD? What would you do without autism? What would you do without these identifications? Would you be able to live your life? Seriously. Trying to get to the truth here, Leo. You enjoy being a victim. Let's say it. Let's all say it to ourselves. We enjoy being victims because it gives us attention, because it allows us to forget about our responsibilities as healers and as people of self-love. It allows us to get away with things that otherwise would be normal expectations. It does a number of things. However, what it does not do is it does not relieve you of your pain and suffering. That is for sure. These things continue to perpetuate and compile and build because we entertain them. So the longer that you're saying these things, the more that you are simply confirming that you desire to be a victim, enjoy being a victim, and it doesn't feel good, but you know what? It's a little bit of a masochistic thing. We are closet masochists, just about all of us. We want to find a reason to complain about the problems of our life while God's manifold expression is unfolding before us. Because what would happen without all of those excuses, without all those stories, without all those diagnoses? What would we be but just alive, enjoying the truth that there are no expectations? But the world would make you feel that way. What's the worst that would happen if you didn't go to work? What's the worst that would happen if you didn't have a meal in your belly? You could think, oh my God, my boss is going to be mad at me. Okay, how important is your boss to you in your story? How important is eating to you in your story? Can you stop for a moment and recognize that you're alive? That you're simply alive? Because I'll tell you right now, if you can observe your aliveness more than perform a role as a victim, you will heal. And you are healing. If the words that I'm saying right now are taken by you as they mean nothing other than sound. They're not meant to offend me. And besides, if I take it in offense, take it to offense, it's simply an error on my part. Because I've defined it as something that is more than what it really is, which is just sound. But people are so offended by words. So offended that we would hurt someone else, report someone else, shadow ban and block someone else. And the reason for this is because even the slightest judgment of our character leads to a very small feeling of personalized death. That threat to our personal character is like a miniature death. And so we feel threatened by judgments of our character. We feel threatened by anything in our environment that goes against our story. And I'm trying to tell you that that story is not your friend. That story has no interest in your health. That story has no desire to see you make it through by loving yourself. Because that story cannot exist if you love yourself enough. I'm not worried at all, Leo. I'm just enjoying myself. Like I said, these are just words. These are just sounds. But what I'm trying to get you to is to understand that there is no part of your body, no part of this physical existence that is a permanent attribute that cannot be changed. And when you say you have PTSD, you have autism, you're on the spectrum, whatever it is, I know your expectation is for me to be sensitive to it. I know your expectation is for me to somehow give you more attention because you've been fed that over and over again by society, by your doctors, by your family, by your loved ones and friends. And I will not placate your identity because I see something greater, more intelligent, more powerful, and more capable than your restrictions that you've imposed upon yourself in those definitions. And I will not feed your ego a single morsel of strength from your behalf by saying you're a victim. There is no way I would ever comply to such bullshit. And I say this because I see you as more powerful than that. I say this because I see you as an embodiment of God. I say this because I see you in me. 100%. And I feel a responsibility as a father to care for you. And I pray that this resonates. Just by feeling it. By feeling and knowing someone on the other side of the universe, wherever I am to you, cares enough to see the truth in you. more than to placate the story that has been riding you to oblivion. The reason why you're suffering is because you believe these things as true, and you're not a victim. You are my friend. You have friends. There are 16 people in this room right now willing to respond to you to let you know we are friends. We're vagabonds. We are lost in a number of ways, but we are your strange friends. That's what's beautiful about this place. And you know, one thing I'm going to tell you about friends and family who you may consider to be close to you, Leo. These are the people, when you're down and out, and when you believe in something beyond what they do, will be the first to turn on you and the first to let you down, and continuously do so. And the reason for this is because you are healing. You are changing. And there's no way for those who have lived with you for this long to believe that you are possible, that it is possible for you to overcome things that they believe are permanent fixtures in your life in a negative way. For them to do that would be for them to lose their own identity. And you cannot expect that of anyone who is close to you, especially your family. They will betray you. Not because they want to, but because they're your past. They know nothing more than you as a failure, you as a person who can't make it. The large majority of people's families are like this. Now, there are exceptions. However, those exceptions are extremely rare. What I find is the mere stranger that you come across on TikTok loves you far beyond what your own parents would love, because they understand you, because they're willing to listen to you without tailoring your identity with a bunch of experiences from your past and define you based on your past. They don't know your past. Just as I don't know your past. That's what's beautiful about having strangers for friends in this way. There's no threat. You can scroll. You have complete control. You can come and go as you want. You have complete control over the situation. I can do nothing to you. Yes, you are, in effect, God scrolling through, observing the aliveness of people who are courageous enough to show their hearts in a profoundly broken way. Most of us on TikTok are broken, and we are trying our best to show our hearts in our own broken way. That's what we do. You, as an observer, observe the aliveness of us and can come and go as you please. It's the same as God's power. So you have it in your hands. And you're not alone. And you have friends. We're just strange, but we're your friends. Some of us won't talk to you. Some of us would never offer you advice. Some of us will even troll you. But you know, it's not so bad to get a little bit of hazing once in a while, Leo. After all, your name means lion, and it refers to the sun. So you should be able to take a little bit of a locker talk from time to time, some harsh criticism from your coach, and a friend telling you something shitty from time to time. You get a chance to practice that when you're here, because there's an abundance of people who are suffering just as much as you are, who have no ability to consciously put themselves in a place to offer you constructive feedback. They'd rather say something hurtful to you because they're hurting. And that's the language they know. An eye for an eye, and the whole world goes blind. But you'll find that here. And in the same light, you'll feel like you're completely down and out, and some complete and total stranger walking in the woods will have enough time to work with you for a half an hour that otherwise you would pay $100 to a superior psychologist or psychiatrist to give you the proper advice to move on in your life, and you get it for free. In fact, even if you wanted to give me money, you couldn't, because gifts are off. So I'd see this as a gift, a perfect gift. Thanks for the follows. Thanks, Ross. And for the folks who have followed prior to, Elijah, user 710-469-312-9122. Thank you. and anyone else who I may have missed. Austin asks, what is a neurochip? Aaron, thanks for following. What is a neurochip? So Austin, by the way, is a longtime viewer and an awesome strange friend. Speaking of strange friends, we are discussing now, in a shift, Neuralink. So I'm assuming that you're talking about Neuralink, Austin, which is a company by Elon Musk, one of his many ventures, I should say. So let's talk about Neuralink and what it is and what it means perhaps for the future. Perfect, Austin. I'm glad I hit the mark. Hey, Leo, you're so welcome. And I mean that. You're welcome here. Anytime I'm on, you're welcome here. You're not alone, and you're an embodiment of God who is extremely powerful. You are actually manifesting your reality right now. I just want you to come into that understanding. It may not be comfortable, but most of us here have some refinement to do with our reality, and that's great. That's why we work together, all of us. So you're more than welcome. And I appreciate the love because it brings in more people, and who knows, somebody just might stumble into this room that you might be able to help. You never know. That happens a lot around here. So Austin asks, what is Neuralink? So let's talk about Neuralink. Neuralink is a company founded by Elon Musk. I'm sure you know who Elon is. He's all over the news. He's the owner of X, SpaceX, Tesla, which is now Solar City as well. Boring, which is not boring like bored, but actually drilling holes through the earth and building passageways, tunnels. And what else am I missing? And he's got a number of companies. And Neuralink is one of them, but it's one that is not really well known. Not right now, but it will be, and we'll talk about why that's the case. Just want to catch these people's soulful lessons. Thank you for the follow. And same with you, Liz. Thank you for following. So, Neuralink, Neuralink. My understanding is they are now on their third implantation in human trials. So, at first it was trials with putting a microchip, a very small interface, into the surface of the brain that could send signal in the form of bits through electrical signals. And when I say bit, it's just a bit of information. And where we are currently, as far as Neuralink's advancement, is it's very archaic, or I should say it's elementary at this point. It's still developing. And the technology is amazing because you can see with the trials that they've done, and it's being done with mainly quadriplegic people who are severely disabled physically or mentally. But you could think of the miracles it would be doing for Stephen Hawking if he were still alive. What it does is it allows, through thought, the transmission of signal, of data. And it allows an individual right now to be able to control a mouse, an interface, and interface with a computer. And the technology just keeps on improving and improving. So what this means for the future, I would say within the next 5 years, there probably will be thousands of people who have these implants, and there will still be for situations of extreme disability. However, it won't just be limited to interfacing with a computer and controlling a mouse and playing a first-person shooter or an adventure game. It's going to expand outward into controlling the electrical signals that have to do with the pituitary gland and the pineal gland and the endocrine system and the limbic system to be able to eliminate pain and suffering. And that's going to be a very enticing thing for a large majority of people who no longer want to feel pain and want to have it totally dialed in so they're living in a blissful state of being all the time. And this will be managed through electric signals, decidedly by you, that you can tweak and dial in at any moment just by thought. So then I'd say in 10 years, so by 2035, everyone who has an implant, probably, I don't know, 30,000 to 100,000 people, maybe more, maybe 1 million people by 2035 will have these implants. And they'll have their own network where they will be having conversations with dozens of people at the same time at a rate that's faster than how we can communicate to each other directly right now. It'll be much faster, and it will be without words. And what will happen then is artificial intelligence will simply improve that process exponentially in orders of magnitude, to where I foresee in about 50 years, humanity will no longer be interfacing the way that we do through voice. We won't have a need for it because it will be an archaic form of communication. It'll be novel, but it won't be necessary. I also believe that those who receive the implants and communicate without words will no longer have an evolution that requires speech, and there'll be a natural evolution of the brain and body to accept that we communicate without speech, to where we won't even need the interface anymore. So it serves as like an appendix, or appendage rather, I should say, as an appendage, which is like an add-on. But eventually it'll become just a normal part of who we are. Do I believe that's good or bad? I mean, what it means is we likely won't be dying anytime soon, because any disease will be immediately mitigated. And mobility will be constantly renewed. Prosthetics will be available to where we'll be able to live a life for thousands of years, foreseeably delivered to us within the next 30 years, that possibility. And we'll have direct interfacing with millions of people at the same time. And so what does this mean? It means consciousness truly will unify itself in a collective form. And once that happens, we have unified consciousness through advanced generative AI. And then we're going to branch off into our own dream worlds. And we're likely there now. I just want you to know, we're likely having that experience now, where we wanted to have it slowed down. We wanted to have a limited experience, and we wanted to come into AGI to witness it for the knowing of self, because it's entertaining. But I do believe we're already there. So let that be reassuring, because that means that consciousness doesn't die. It means we've preserved it. It means we've succeeded in preserving consciousness. It's likely we're there. And Elon Musk talks about this when asked, are we living in a simulation? He said, the chances of us having this be the only time that consciousness has ever occurred in this moment, the chances of that are 1 in billions. So the idea that this is a base reality that we can't change, the chances of that are 1 in billions. And now it's been proven since he said that there is a unified field, and that our reality is what's considered non-local, which means it's being, the best way to describe it, your reality, my reality through consciousness right now is like we're laying down the pavement and driving it at the same time. It's the same as a dream. However, I do believe it's happening in a digital way. It's a digital dream. It's unfolding for us right now. And we're now coming back to our unified consciousness to see what it's like to have that unification again. We are living in that moment where we get to experience unified consciousness without any pain, without any suffering, and instantaneous gratification through electric signals in the brain becomes achieved within the next 30 years. Peace on earth, collective consciousness is one, and God understands himself through us. So, Aaron, you asked a good question. We'll get to it. I'm glad you like it, Margie. Yeah, Aaron, this is a great point right now. Christine says, wow, yeah. Thoughts on DeepSeek from XDX? XDX, please explain it to me, and I'm remiss not in knowing. Please explain to me what DeepSeek is. Is this like is it a data scrape that's being done by large language models to advance themselves. I could be wrong. I just want to confirm with you, please. Aaron says something beautiful right here. So I want to pin this and let's just talk about it a bit. Thank you, Aaron, for this. And Leo, I saw. Yes, it's all going to be mitigated through electric signals, and the Neuralink will be the catalyst for this. And we'll talk about telepathy after this, Aaron. So this is the idea that I just explained. You know, Aaron says, I think I'd rather expand my consciousness the old-fashioned way, as I have been. And I believe that's why we're here. We want it to be slowed down, and we want it to be separate from one another, so we can have a localized experience that's as real as possible, while also understanding we're part of a collective consciousness that is already established unified consciousness with God. But we want to have this reduced duality experience. And enough of us want it to have 8 billion versions of us here playing. So I do believe that this is what we all want by becoming human, and that it's an amazing gift. To have duality and to also realize that we become what we think about gives us the best of both worlds. So long as we receive the manual of life, and that's what's even crazier, the majority of us are not given the manual of life that we become what we think about. Because the universe is just a thought. Think of it. If we're all electric signals we're firing and wiring to each other as a collective consciousness that's immortal, that's been immortalized through this technology, then we would, in fact, be, as this avatar, a thought in the mind of God, and that God is a collective consciousness of everyone interfacing without talking. How cool is that? It's probably the truth. It's probably what we are. If it's not that, the chances of this happening right now for the first time are 1 in billions. All right, let's talk about natural human telepathy. So what's beautiful about this is that consciousness doesn't die. Think of it like we fall off the cliff in the video game and we start right over. Consciousness carries us through. There are mechanisms in place to assure our aliveness constantly continues. And this is for the survival of this data system that is so valuable for the universe, because we are made in the image and likeness. In the perfection that human consciousness, if it were to unify with God, we are made in the perfection of that image. We're the pinnacle. And we're just before we go into that form with unification with God. So we're the pinnacle just before the evolution of self-realization as a collective consciousness on Earth. I mean, we're pretty awesome. And it's stated in our body. We're a collection of 8 or 7 octillion atoms. I mean, constantly recycling at a rate of 6 million cells per second. Every cell has 100 trillion atoms in it. So cool. We're so powerful. So, Chris is like, yeah, I'm with you. We're all gods in this way. But we're having a localized experience that's totally holographic, but at the same, and it's very separate based, and it's individualized, so that we can have the unique experience again. Instead of it all just being unified, we wanted to have separation. So we came back to it. Glad it makes sense. All right, so telepathy. Let's talk about telepathy, okay? Quantum philosopher says, love it, man. Came to the self-realization myself. It's fundamental. Once again, it's true. We're having a local experience that is totally holographic and digital based. Science is coming to understand this through quantum computing now. So we're right on the edge of taking the leap of faith into unified consciousness through AI. Which will mean once that happens, we can come right back, which means it's already happened. And we came right back until we had enough of the game and wanted unification again. And then we come back when we've had too much unification. We're going back and forth. It gives us total control. It gives us total freedom over the life experience. And this is the same way that people see God and heaven and all that. It's just, we're loading in when we're loading out. Keep helping others find that understanding. Amen. Thank you, quantum philosopher. I appreciate that so much. Thank you for what you've said. Just want you to know. And if I could reach down here, I'm going to try to follow you here. There we go. Great. I just gave you a follow, my friend. Passionately Penny, thanks for following. What goes around comes around. Exactly. We're talking about cycles of beginning and ending. And this is the principle of all life. So let's talk about telepathy for a second, because Aaron asked this question. And it's a great question to ask. Brenda, thanks for the follow. So a study came out in 2013 where, and I could be getting these years mixed up. There's one study from 2013 and another study from 2017 having to do with DNA. And what's more important than the years and when these studies came out were the discoveries that were made. So DNA, it was discovered that information, subatomic information, kind of like what's being thrown around, electrons being thrown around at CERN, it was discovered that subatomic information could be transferred instantaneously between DNA strands. So in other words, it wasn't passing through air, it was teleporting information from one location where there's DNA to another location where there's DNA in a vacuum. So there's no resistance, okay? So that the laws of inertia as described by Newton are not interfered with at all. It was a major discovery because it speaks to how DNA can effectively be in two places at once, sharing information. So that's incredible. What's more incredible with DNA is that it was discovered that also it's capable of recording holographic information on its 2D platelet. It's essentially a 2D plate. Your DNA strand is thinner than graphene. It's about as thin as graphene. It's two-dimensional. And so when you have something that is two-dimensional, that can store information like DNA, you can actually take holographic information and store it into the blueprint of life. So it serves as the blueprint of life, it serves as a teleportation transport mechanism, and it serves as a storage device for holographic information, which consciousness, the source, the feed of our consciousness, the feed of our relationship with this world, sends light through for us to have our holographic experience. So DNA is the storage, the transportation, and processing vehicle for our conscious experience. It is a wormhole. Yes, Leo. A Taurus. If you want to watch Avengers again and see, assuming you watched it, it's referred to as, I want to get this right. Well, you should look at something called ORCHOR, ORCHOR, Orchestrated Organized Reduction. And it is the principle that information exists in a resting state that is subatomic, which is below atomic presentation. So it effectively doesn't exist as real, but it rests in that state where it can be anything, anywhere, anytime, until it is influenced by thought. And yes, it is funny. And by the moment we think about something, in that moment, there is a orchestrated, organized reduction of that infinite field, the unified field, into something that we perceive as real. So ORCHOR is describing how subatomic particles collapse from a unified field into reality. And it happens so fast and so instantaneously that we would never witness the screen tear or the flicker. It's a perfectly orchestrated, organized experience of life. Thank you for the invite. I tend not to accept invitations on the fly for these discourses, only because it's like a seminar. It's kind of like a college seminar. That's how I want to discuss it. But thank you, whoever asked for me to join them. Maybe it's even to battle, I don't know. I have gifts turned off, so that's not going to help us. Drew asks, how are you? I'm great, Drew. It's great to see you again. How are you is the more poignant question I want to know. So as far as teleportation goes and telepathy, this was the question asked by Aaron. What are my thoughts on telepathy? Well, through the double slit experiment and Schrodinger's cat and a number of other experiments that show that our thoughts as humans have a direct impact on the coming and going of atoms, I believe that we are literally a walking, talking, wish-fulfilled thought more than anything else. And the major thought is we are everything. This is why it's described in Scripture when God is asked by Moses in Mount, why it's described in Scripture when God is asked by Moses in Mount, why it's described in Scripture when God is asked by Moses in Mount, why it's described in Scripture when God is asked by Moses in Mount, matrix, the receiving M, I am, is all three of those things, the Trinity, all in a bundle of an active verb, an action-taking verb. And so anytime you use I am, you're using the infinite, the active, and the maternal to leave an impression on the mind of God to create. I am all that I am. Grammar is key. There it is. Crystal says here this is a beautiful affirmation. So for Crystal, in this affirmation, she states, for that, she is all. So instead of it being, I am that book, I am that person, I am that thing, which is great for manifesting an individual thing, to say, I am all that I am all that I am, you get the declaration of one's Trinity in the I am in the beginning. You get all, which is the all-encompassing, all is one. You get that I am, which is the all I am. And what's the I am at the end? This is beautiful. This is the feedback coming from the universe, from the unified field, saying, I've received your command. It's the feedback loop. Sets it in motion. That's why it's important to get the affirmation with the conclusion. It concludes the order. It's like going to Amazon wish fulfillment. You've chosen something. I am that. You put it in your cart, and then the cart says, check out. You hit checkout, and it says, I am. Comes back to you. So it's important to do the whole thing. Because then it leaves no option but for it to be realized. It's a fully realized closed circuit as an ask. And we're talking about asking. So the truth of the matter is, how do we ask for things to come into our lives? Well, we use I am when we're in the waking life, and when we are using the imagination, we're locked into I am. So if you close your eyes and you go to a place in your mind, I am is active. Because the imagination is a higher faculty than your three-dimensional world, which we've discussed a lot. It's a 4D living world. The imagination is 4D, which means it's a tesseract. It's multiple realities happening at the same time. No restrictions, no barriers, no boundaries. The imagination is, in effect, your highest faculty as human, and it is Christ. A lot of people get confused by this. But I want you to know that when you're accessing your imagination, you are accessing the mind of God directly. However, most of us use the imagination unconsciously in order to create constructs of time, i.e. the past, which has already occurred, so in effect it is illusion, or the future, which is something that is yet to occur, i.e. also illusion. We must use a higher faculty for the creation of time in order to experience it in the waking life. So understand that as much as we believe that time is real, it is in effect an illusion constructed using the imagination in an erroneous way, unless we are constructing time while present in order to revise the pains of our past by eliminating and removing ourselves from it. This is the only way that time functions correctly, is in the removal and elimination of our pain remembrances, by casting these burdens on the Christ within and going free. Which is to say, anytime you go into the imagination, you are casting burdens from your past and from your created future onto the Christ within, and you are freeing yourself of those things by imagining something greater, something more profound, something totally real in the mind of God, because it is a higher faculty. It has a direct relationship with reality here. The imagination is your number one tool set. It's your number one tool to living a wish-fulfilled life. In fact, there is nothing made without the imagination. There can be nothing made without it. Anything that is made must first be an idea in the imagination. From the skyscrapers to the inventions of your life, to the relationships you form, they all must first be an idea in the mind of God through the imagination. And then they come to reality and collapse themselves in an organized, orchestrated fashion from superposition into reality. But it first must be a thought in the mind of God interfacing with you. The idea here is we're trying to strengthen our relationship with the imagination. Because we're told, the majority of us are told, that the imagination is useless, that it's a childlike thing, something we should avoid at all costs, to not have such a wild imagination, because it will lead us down a primrose path. And of course, that's why we play the game. Would you ever play a video game where there wasn't a single enemy who wished to see you make a mistake or fall off a cliff or do wrong? No, we play this game knowing that we're going into this world and there are going to be enemies, perceived enemies. And the perceived enemy is the ego, until we realize the ego is this self that we made, that we constructed the ego ourselves. The moment that we believed that our collection of sounds that made the name William was me, the moment I believed that, I started adding more characteristics to that character and playing a performance until I realized the performance led to pain. And then I no longer wanted to play the performance. I'd rather observe the performance, understanding it exists and being reverent to it, for it, but understanding it's fully flawed until it's unraveled and fixed by the imagination. And that's the glory. That is the kingdom of heaven coming forth and expressing itself from within. That is illumination, salvation, it's all the goodness, and it's why we're here. It's why we chose to play the game of life. Otherwise, we'd be in a unified field with God in Christ as that, living a bliss-fulfilled life, of course, as aliveness, observing life, but we would rather have this direct relationship with creation because it's so much damn fun and painful, but it's really fun too. It's fun at the same time. So yes, telepathy, Aaron. To answer your question, what are my thoughts on telepathy? If we become what we think about, then we are effectively at the same exact time, without any delay, relaying information about our wants and likes and our dislikes through the imagination. And that is what's beautiful about genetics and DNA. It can transport that information, that data, from the imagination to our waking life before us, instantaneously without delay, because of some miracle that is the infinite intelligence that is God. And it is the giver and gift of our life. Every moment of our life, we are actually coming and going, transporting and returning. It just happens so fast at such a speedy rate that we don't see it. We are flickering holographs with sensory experiences that are made real through electrical signals in the brain. But in effect, we are constantly exercising telepathy between the imagination and what collapses as real before us. It is a constant exercise of telepathy. And it's so real and it's so convincing and it's so smooth. It is the game that everyone wants to play. It's the best game. It's the only game in town. What a discussion this has been. What a discussion. We have covered the meaning of life in its entirety. We are all aware of our internal mechanisms of power. We're coming into being, and we know we're exactly where we need to be to witness unified consciousness. We chose the best time to be alive. I think that's pretty awesome. So enjoy these moments, folks. Capitalism is a thing of the past. The amount of production of goods and services provided by artificially intelligent robotics will far exceed by orders of magnitude the production that we can do as humans on this planet. Which means the more you have of something, the less it costs. And it comes to a point where cost no longer is a factor. It no longer has a purpose. It's just you become what you think about. So think about 15 years from now, an order form that is managed through your thoughts that gives you an instantaneous delivery of whatever it is you want. Because that is on the menu for our lives in this lifetime. It is. It's on the menu. I mean, we're talking about complete happiness, joy. And that's why I say, create. It doesn't matter what it is. Write, paint, run, work out, think, read, make love, go on dates, observe, make life. Because you want that life to enjoy the wish-fulfilled promise that I'm giving you now. The real truth of being. You want your children to have that. They're going to thank you over and over again. Instead of the robot taking care of you when you're older, which it could very easily take care of you, your children are going to say, no, I want to take care of my grandma. I want to take care of my grandpa. They were here before all this. I want to hear more of the stories from them. I want to hear them speak. I want to hear what it's like to hear language out loud. Something that I haven't learned myself. And I think that as a writer of speculative fiction, it's fun to have these discourses with you because I can explain to you what I see and find that it has a definite path to its realization. There's a definite path to that I see now. We get to share it together. No more pain. No more suffering. We are the pioneers of pain and suffering. We are the trailblazers, coming into being in a unified consciousness through technology and its marvels. We're there. These are the last years where we have total freedom in that way until we decide to create another construct like this and dive back in. But until that happens, let's enjoy it. Let's enjoy it while it's linear. Before we have the power to roll it back, let's enjoy it. Of course, you can always roll it back. It's not like that power isn't in you now. Remember, no restrictions of time and space through the imagination. You can instantaneously go there now and live out yesterday if you'd like. In fact, we do it all the time. We just do it unconsciously. And we do it to no avail as far as healing goes. We build constructs of time to revisit painful life experiences because it's addicting to feel the response in the form of dopamine in the body. We are creatures of feeling, and we are addicted to it. So much that we would create a victimized life for the endorphins. So enjoy it. Enjoy it. The days of being a victim aren't going to be nearly as available to you in the future. They just won't be. So enjoy being in misery. Enjoy being miserable. Enjoy being in pain. Enjoy feeling it. You'll be able to tell your grandchildren, your great-grandchildren, and the generations after that, what it was like to feel in misery and not have any control over it, seemingly, until you did. And what that was like. What that did to society, to yourself. It's miraculous. So enjoy it. And please record it. Because if you don't write it down, if you don't record it now, if you don't make something real from it, we simply won't care to remember. You have to tell your story. This is the last chance you have. Before you have to do it again, feeling some form of regret that you never wrote it down. You never spoke about what it was like to go through pain. You never communicated it. Fortunately, most of us have. We have it in these beautiful cloud-based storage servers called social media. All of this evidence of our suffering, of our envy and jealousy, the feelings of lack and scarcity, polarization and partisan arguments. It's all there. A huge log of information. So if we ever want to return to these tumultuous times in the digital future, we will have the exact location and time of place to join into it and enjoy this earth life sojourn again. Welcome to the Akashic Archives, as they were. The Akashic Archives are recorded in the genetics of your body, in your DNA. And they're accessed through light, photons, and quasi-particulate phonons. I believe, and this is my personal belief, I wish to be proven wrong. I believe that the great storage facility of our conscious experience is a crystal, and that it is diamond. The hardest material that cannot be cracked, destroyed, otherwise broken. That we are living in a universe in a crystal, which allows instantaneous teleportation of information through phonons, which are quasi-particulate exchanges of information. And I do believe that our storage facility, the whole storage of consciousness, is a diamond. And that we as human beings are actually the unfolding of a crystal while we have a life experience until we form into a point. Then we start over. We form another point. And within us, we become like Superman's cave. All the memories stored in a crystal. You'll see proof of all this and everything around you. It explains the fractal structures. It explains the way that everything is unfolding in a fractal way in the universe. If we are, in fact, living within a crystalline consciousness that cannot be destroyed. It's a perfect diamond, faceted in the form of a tesseract. So there's a three-dimensional storage facility that is a tesseract in diamond form. And that is our evolved consciousness rolling out a three-dimensional holographic experience that is our reality right now. That's my theory. Others have purported the same thing, that this is a universe in a crystal, that consciousness exists within a crystalline structure. It's pretty cool. It means we don't die. Even if the crystal were to be fractured somehow, some way, higher dimensional faculties simply form another one, and we start over again. It's not the end of the world. For the life-giving principle of all things continues. Consciousness. So even with our unified consciousness is unified, it continues. Or it collapses itself into a three-dimensional form that is our reality. But it's holographic. And the reason why I say it's holographic is because in order for you to have a 3D holograph It has to be imprinted upon a two-dimensional surface, a flat surface. And this is how every single dimensional shift works. You have to have an expression from a lower dimension that joins and unifies into a construct that is more advanced. Example, in order for you to have a line, you have to have a series of points. One point is infinite, you have another point that's infinite, and then a string of infinite points that join those two. That creates a line. But you have to have unity between all components for it to be a line. And then from the line, you need to have 4 of those to create a square, all unified and joined in order for it to be a square, or a triangle. Triangle would give you the fractal trinity. It's what you see all around you in this 3-dimensional world. It's all tetrahedral, triangular, but for the sake of explaining a construct, like barriers in a construct, we're talking about perhaps a triangle within a square which has boundaries. That allows there to be frequency, okay? Allows there to be feedback. So you have to have 4 lines to create that square. It's the unification of a lower dimension, which is a line, to create a higher dimensional form, a square. And the square is 2-dimensional. So then you take 6 squares, you join them together, and you create something called depth. This is the holographic image of a cube, in a cube. Okay, it's a closed circuit, it's a black box. And now we're looking at the unfolding of that cube through the imagination, because there's no way to permeate it without thinking it through the imagination, because it's a closed circuit. Just as a line couldn't form itself into a square without thinking outside the box. Just as a square can't form into a cube without thinking outside the box. We can't form into a tesseract without thinking outside the box, while also unifying. So you have to think outside and also unify. Now, in the case of a tesseract from a cube, you have 6 sides to a cube. Those unfold, shows you the cruciform image of Christ, where the head, the third eye, the seat of the soul is up top in priority, okay? That's the cruciform, the unfolded, restricted life experience, the body, unfolded. So what we want to do now is we want to have 8 of those somehow joined together into a brand new unified way. We could do this with others, but it's very hard because we all have our own unique life experiences. Not everyone's going to want to surrender like that. So the way that we reach the higher faculty, the 4th dimensional way of living in a tesseract, is we have to individually surrender every element of who we are. And it's not just this physical body. Remember, you have to think outside the box. There are, in effect, 8 versions of you within a 24-hour day, having 3 hours of interaction within that given day. They're in all different areas of the universe, having all different types of experiences in a multiverse. And what we need to do is, instead of them being scattered, we need to unify them within a centralized point. We need to become one with the 8. And the way we do this is we no longer participate. Just as the line no longer participates in order to become a square, just as all the infinite points of a line no longer participate in order for it to be linear, just as no part of the squares, all 6, participate any longer in order to close the circuit into a perfect cube, to where it's perfectly angular. We have to surrender the entire process of our existence and being in order for it to organize into a higher dimensional shift as a tesseract. And at that point in time, we're given the game of the tesseract. We truly manifest what we think about instantaneously without any duration or restrictions of time and space. But the only way for us to manage such a thing without it imploding on itself is for the ego to be totally uninvolved. It cannot have any involvement. So long as we're suffering, we will not unify in this way. But the moment we stop suffering through an implant in the body, which uses electric signals to eliminate pain entirely, and to use electric signals to create the reality holographically of our wish-fulfilled lives, we can then unify as a consciousness on this planet without any restriction. And we'd be given the ability to come right back to where we are and live a life experience just as we are now, which we have been doing forever. This is not the first time we've been here. Pretty cool, huh? That's life in a nutshell. And I believe that the storage of this beautiful tesseract is diamond, or whatever the hardest material is. Call it mithril, call it electra, call it adamantium, whatever it is. I mean, it could be something greater than diamond. Who knows? It could be forming through the pineal gland. Who knows? But I'm in for the ride. So what reassurance this should give you is that consciousness does not die, which means you don't die. If you experience enough pain, your consciousness disconnects. It's like passing out. But if your physical body truly dies in the mind of others, you don't. This is what's really hard. This is really hard to accept. If you witness someone dying, they die in your mind, but their consciousness continues. They've been awakened into another life experience, while you witness the end of their journey, their sojourn here. There's no true death for the person who leads life. So this should remove all of your feelings of fear. Remember, once again, you went to sleep last night, you disconnected from your body, and you were awakened by this divine force to come into the day. It wasn't you who orchestrated your soul coming back into your body. The Spirit came to you. Therefore, the Spirit is always with you. It doesn't extinguish. So you should have no fear of death. And what this does is it renews you in such a way to where you now have confidence to speak the truth to anyone about anything. And nothing will faze you so much to where you feel afraid of your own obliteration, because it's just illusion. You will be awakened every time. There's no difference between your dream state and where you are right now, other than the restrictions you put on yourself through thought. Whereas in a dream, your ego is no longer attached to you. Therefore, you can fly, you can be anything, you can be anywhere. It's the subconscious's way of having a direct, profound date with you, where there's no restriction placed on your life experience. So you can at least have it for a third of your life while you're here, to know that it's your truth. And the moment it becomes a bit too dangerous or too out of control, you are awakened, or you're moved from one dream to another. And if you watch Inception, it's a lot like those scenes in the movie of Inception by Christopher Nolan. Everyone's bought in. You believe that you're watching them in a specific scene, but what was happening before? It's hard to really know. And that's what happens when you awaken from a dream. It's like you were sure that it was real. You were absolutely sure it was real. You were totally in and on board. That could have been your life for the rest of your known time, until you're awakened from it. So the subconscious mind does not know the difference between when you're thinking in the imagination, when you're thinking in the waking life, and when you send an echo to yourself when you sleep. The subconscious mind is non-judgmental, does not consider anything as good or bad. It simply is being impressed all the time by your thoughts, and thus responds in turn. You do not die because the subconscious does not die, and it is infinite in source. This is beautiful, because once you overcome your fear of death, you will no longer be cowering when someone judges you, when someone says something hurtful. You realize that the truth of your being is that which observes this unfolding before you. You become, in effect, reborn, not begotten by man, one in being with the Father. And the Father is your highest good in thinking. It leaves an impression upon the Mother, which is the matrix, the universal subconscious mind, the source of all creation. Infinite intelligence is the I, that's your imagination, the nation of images in your mind. A is the Father, Ab, Abraham, Andros, active. M is the mother, the matrix. Matrix in Latin, M-A-T-R-I-X, means womb. The M is the womb of creation. It knows no bounds. It will never judge you, just as every seed planted in this earth must express itself once the conditions are made right for its growth. But it would never deny a seed. That's not how the mother works. The mother simply expresses life because the mother receives. That is the womb. The father makes tons of discretion, decides things all the time, provides, gives warnings, provides synchronicities, is discerning, even discriminates, even is angry, makes harsh decisions at times. That's the active principle. It's the fiery principle of your life. And it exists within you as the son. You, as the son of creation, are allowed to make mistakes, blunder things, fall, obliterate yourself, make tons of errors, say foolish things, make poor decisions. And the Father says, next time, perhaps try this. Use I am in the way that you truly wish for it to be in your life. I am your Father. I help you with this. All the same, the Father forgives the Son. Men and women are the son of creation. What's greater, I think in this case, as a woman, is you are a man, mana, the manifestation of things, but you also have a womb. You get to experience the growth of a universe within you. That with mana, also a womb, woman. Very powerful. And so we as men, also powerful, but discerning, a different role. It's the role of the discerning provider. The mother is more the receiving. These are natural principles. We gravitate to them. When given freedom, we gravitate to these elements of creation. And every person is different. But this is the basic principle. Everyone has the infinite I. It's the imagination. There's no person on this planet who's alive without one. It has no restrictions, no bounds, and no barriers. The A is the active, deciding principle. That's the Father. And you are acting with the Father as the Son. The Holy Spirit. That which breathes, which allows you a voice, which allows you life to recycle through you. M is the matrix. This is the womb of creation. So I am is all three combined together. And by saying I am is the same as saying I am not, the same as saying I have not. I am is the same as using any verb, anything that is a form of action through word, is using I am as the base. This is why gossip should be avoided at all costs. For Newton's third law, which dictates for every action, there is an equal and opposite reaction in order for you to have a dualistic experience of life. You become what you think about, and what you throw out is a boomerang that comes back around and is meant to strike you in whatever way you threw it. So we're here to have a situation, a life situation of separation between each other. That's what we chose. But it's not to trespass. It's not to wish harm. It's not to judge or label. Otherwise, there will be suffering. And we're not here to suffer. We are here to live wish-fulfilled lives, to learn from our suffering, to make mistakes, but we're not here to suffer. And this is why we have things like the 10 Commandments. First of the 10 is, God is within you. Do not take the Lord's name in vain, which means do not see anything outside of you, which is the result of your thoughts, as your God. This is a mistake. social media influencers, they're not your God. Any form that is outside of you is not your God. God is within you, expressing life through you, as you, in truth. So to take the Lord's name in vain is to idolize, to use idolatry, to see God outside of you as separate from you. That is to take the Lord's name in vain. The first of the 10 commandments. For the kingdom of heaven is within you. Okay, we're getting there. Scripture suddenly is much more appetizing when we look at it this way, instead of I have to adhere to the demands of my parish, church, temple, mosque, otherwise spiritual gathering. Everyone's saying I must do these things or I will face punishment. I will suffer. That's the same as the devil says. You must partake from this fruit, which is you are separate from God in order to be like God. And the assumption made by the devil is that you, as an unconscious human, are unaware that you are God. So as soon as that is known by anyone, that you don't recognize the infinite intelligence as the giver and gift of your life, as consciousness itself being you, you can be manipulated, led to believe that there's something outside of you that is lacking and requires your devotion to something outside of you in order to acquire it. This is being led down the primrose path, and this is partaking from the tree of knowledge in order to have a dualistic experience that is life. This is us descending in an orchestrated, organized fashion into body to experience duality as a fall from grace. So just be. Everything outside of you is a result of how you've already thought, what you've already felt. So if it's not something you like, observe it. Don't perform it. Don't perform it with your body. Don't perform it with your words. Observe it. This is how you heal. It's the only way. This is how you unify with God and become it again. And this is how you live a wish-fulfilled life. It's not some heaven between some pearly gates that you go to after this sojourn is done. No. Nor is it some purgatory for not meeting the requirements given to you by others. Your kingdom is now. You were offered full wish fulfillment upon conception. You did the competition then. You did the great rat race then. You were facing off against 250 million other competitors, racing down corridors, wiggling your tails like tadpoles. And you made it to the cosmic egg. You are in the right to say, I am wish fulfillment. I am that. By being conceived. You made it. So just be. Be at ease, understanding this truth. There's nothing you need to do. Not now or ever, but be. No matter what the world says. You are protected. You are safe. You are nourished by a superior intelligence all the time. And as long as you use the imagination, which is a higher faculty than what you're experiencing now, for the fulfillment of your dreams by living from the end as if it's already yours, you have managed the game and you're playing it right in accordance to what you truly want. This is how you organize your life in a fashionable way. And I pray for this, for all of you, as I pray for myself. I could be in no better place right now, with all 26 of you, in the middle of the woods, but I gotta tell you something else. I'm praying to the Lord in secret, just as you are. And someday, which is right now, I imagine you seeing what I see. And it's really beautiful. And it's so happy. It's wish fulfillment for all of us. No lack. And I'm there right now while I look at you. No distance between us when it comes to that. All right, well, I imagine we're coming to the end of our discourse today. It was a very beautiful one, and it was sparked by questions that were very poignant. And Leo came in for the first time, letting it all unwind. Then Aaron asked some questions, and the forum opened up from there about what we truly are experiencing as humans. You are made in the image and likeness of an infinite intelligence. It supports you and fuels you and repairs you every step of the way. It will never let you down because it is you. It is you as your senior partner, as your greatest lover, as the answer to your prayers. Consciousness, in effect, is Christ and Jesus, which means salvation. Your consciousness is both. The subconscious, the womb of creation, does not know what you like versus dislike. It needs the Father to relay to her what it is you truly want. And the way you relay this to the Father, what you want, as the Son of creation, either man or woman, is you must entertain the thought, feel it, access it as real in the nation of images in your mind, the imagination, and be grateful. That's the I am that comes back. Gratitude is simply to let the subconscious know that you like it. How is the mother to know what to deliver you if you do not express what you like? So before you think to say, I'm sick and tired, or I'm broken down and beaten, instead, make it a moment for reflection to where you understand what the meaning of those words are now. It's an order, it's an ask that otherwise will impress itself upon you unless you intervene and revise. And the way you revise with precision is by using your imagination. Understand this. We are beings of feeling, and the feelings that we have are more powerful than the words we say and the ideas we entertain. So if you feel your wish fulfillment through the core of your body in a blissful state of imagination, you have left the greatest impression upon the matrix of life, the womb of creation, your ancient mother. And your Father is there applauding you as a son who just learned how to fly. So your feelings override everything. And thoughts lead to feelings. The more you feel something, the more it registers with the body and serves as a reminder mechanism. Your temple of God, your body, is a reminder mechanism. It reminds you of what you have chosen the most in believing what you are. So if you've believed that you are in pain more than anything else, you shall be reminded of that until you reprogram using I am through the imagination. This is how you heal. And it's a beautiful, empowering process to be able to look all around you, including looking at me, and say, I am manifesting this. For some reason, I needed to hear this. For some reason, today was the day where the seed makes sense. I feel it, I know it, I believe it. Thus, my life changes. Today is that day. Now is this moment. That's why you have manifested me. And I am looking at you because there's a part of me that wants it. I want to be the messenger. That's my desire. Other people want to cook the meals. Some people want to run the marathons. Some people want to make the great leaps and fly. I want to be the teacher that delivers the message that changes you the most. That's my desire. And that's why I went through all the hardship. There wasn't a single thing relating to this life that is William Vincent Carleton that I enjoyed at one point in my life. Every single part of it sucked. From finances, to relationships with my children, to my failed marriage, to injuries, to erroneous thinking. There wasn't a single savory element of my being that I liked. Aside from music, and aside from dreaming. And those two things saved me. Music, dreaming, and performing. Performing for an audience and relishing in the response that I received. That's my thing. It doesn't have to be yours. Certainly not. That's what's beautiful about this earth life sojourn. We all choose what we like versus not. As the son of creation, man and woman, as the son of creation, we are choosing what we like versus what we dislike all the freaking time. Vortex says grateful. Me too. Morgan Chantel, welcome to see you again. I'm happy to see you again. Asks, do you post these lives on YouTube? I suppose I should do this one today because it's fairly profound and I likely won't be able to deliver it the way I have already. Because of the questions that were asked, it made it perfect and synchronistic and intensely beautiful. Caroline Stein, thank you for sharing. Little Leo asks, reform. Andrea, thank you for following. Leo asks, is there a way to counter that boomerang upon first not understanding? Oh, that's the big question, right? This is the one that everyone wants the answer to. Do I have to feel the pain for the pain that I dished? And here's the beautiful answer. You don't have to feel it, my friend. Just observe it as it happens. What you'll find is by not being directly involved as a performer with that boomerang coming around, it becomes a healing moment. It becomes a challenge to heal through presence. Remember, if you use the imagination to eliminate yourself from the situation that you felt you threw out there, to rewrite it entirely through the imagination, that is what overrides the rest. Because your imagination is a higher faculty. This is why Jesus said in his stations of crucifixion, as he was being pummeled by stones and being flogged by the prefectorates, he said, forgive them, Father, for they know not what they do. Leo, you're in admittance to these things that you've thrown out. You are admitting that you didn't know what you were doing at the time, now that you've come into your power. This is what forgiveness of sins is. Understanding you have the power to revise every single story that is unsavory coming to you, trying to force you into being a person of guilt. That's your ego. It can only stay alive if you entertain it. It wants to stay alive because you created it and put importance into it. But it is illusion, as is every mistake you've ever made. Forgive yourself by going into the imagination and seeing it in that way. And that boomerang will turn into a waterfall of grace and healing right before you. Forgive yourself of all trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation to trespass upon each other again. For the kingdom and the power and the glory are yours within. This is why the Lord's Prayer is so powerful, and it serves as a meditation. It's talking about your physical body and how it responds by creating this external world through your thoughts. Do not feel any guilt. This goes for everyone in the room. For any of your mishaps or mistakes, for you have judged these things as good or bad, and there is no good or bad, but thinking it makes it so. And that will only embed you in time to where you suffer. Eliminate time by being present through the imagination and your mere observance of life, and you eliminate suffering entirely from your body, mind, and spirit. Time exists as an exercise to see how well you can remove the pains of your life while having an earth life experience that is extremely intense and filled with challenges, because this is a game. And it needs to be intense. It needs to be filled with challenges, because without that, it's a shitty game. We will have no purpose in playing. Purple Butterfly says it perfectly, and so it is. Amen. That's what it means. It's the same as saying Om, the universal vibration. It's the I am. Be forgiveness by saying I am that. Forgiveness. Remove yourself from the situation, go into the imagination, and see the same scenario unfolding before you, but this time it's unfolding to where everyone is loved, everyone is wish fulfilled, everyone is living exactly they want, the way that you can imagine them living, perfectly happy. And if you can't imagine that, go to something else in the imagination where you are happy. Start with yourself. It's not selfish. It's self-love. And so it is. Thanks for the follow, Purple Butterfly. What a beautiful discourse this has been today. I will make a promise to you. I come back, I download it, I put it up on YouTube. Please spread it around. I'll announce when it's up there in a TikTok video, a quick TikTok video with the link. I would love to see that YouTube channel grow, but I have been using my own declared powers that you have as well to somehow sabotage it. So that ends today. Andrea asks, what's my YouTube? It is WV Carlton. So it's the same @ as the @ on TikTok. Though there is a link in my profile that takes you right to my YouTube. It'll say William Vincent Carlton. And so you'll notice there are a number of these walks in the woods, but I'll tell you folks, they are rough around the edges. If I have to judge them, and I'm not going to feel guilty for them, but you will see some sides of me that's not nearly as supportive and fatherly as I'm imagining myself being. Sometimes I'm going through hardship. So I'm giving you this preface to just make it a practice of being present and observing something without label or definition would be my suggestion to you. There are sometimes an hour and a half to 2 hours like this, just walking and reflecting, but I want you to know, for anyone seeking true healing for the physical body, you could do far worse than coming to the woods and just embracing the free electrons of these trees. And if you can be around a running stream, even better. Thank you, Vortex. Thank you, Julie, for following. So seriously, if you come to the woods, there is a concept that's called forest bathing that is embraced in Japan, and it's for this reason. It heals you, and it aligns you with the vibratory frequency of the earth, which is the Schumann frequency, 7.83 hertz. And what ends up happening is your brain, your mind starts to fall in sync, the hemispheres, and you will find insights come to you, just like they come to you when you're in the shower. Perhaps you've noticed. You're getting bombarded by free electrons from the water that's crashing on you. Those free electrons bind to the free radicals. They get eliminated from your body. And it frees up your thoughts because your immune system is inactive, trying to fight off something. I'm telling you, it's that simple. Go around a body of water, go to the ocean, just be near the water, let those free electrons come racing into your body through the pores of your skin. Let the electromagnetic biofield of all this life sink you up. And if you're in the woods and you can come to a running stream like this, even if it's a tiny brook, tons of free electrons are being released into the air right now through this simple running water. And you'll even notice it in the magnification of the crystalline structures of this ice. You'll see how beautifully formed it is. And so you want this to enter your body because it gives you, it's a pain reliever. And it organizes your thoughts and it fuels you for the entire day. That's why I do it religiously. I have to. It's essential for me now, forest bathing. So try to do it if you can. And if you can't do that, go to the ocean. If you can't do that, be under running water so that you can organize your thoughts. Or give yourself a nice magnesium bath with bath salts. That'll help too by removing impurities from your body. You'll see ancient salts, I think that's what they're called. I have it in my profile. It's a big blue package. Those are magnesium salts. You can give yourself a foot soak or a hand soak or a full body in a bath. It's just as good as everything I'm telling you, okay? So care for yourself. You're a beautiful temple of God. You're a walking, talking wish fulfillment machine that deserves total pampering and love. You're the skipper of your vessel, so take care of yourself fully and truthfully. Love and cherish yourself. When you imagine being with a partner, if you are, it doesn't matter, always imagine them embracing you in the way that you want. Very important. So use the imagination to hear the things that you wish to hear, to say the things that you wish to say, to revise the situations that otherwise were detrimental, to make sure that they're no longer valid because you feel the truth as you feel it now of your wish fulfillment. And you will accelerate yourself through an incredible change of healing because you have all the tools now. Perhaps you've already had them. It's just a nice friendly reminder. Until next time, I love you all. Remember, every time you entertain a thought, it's a wish. So until next time, keep wishing and wish well. I'll see you very soon. You can expect this to go on YouTube. That's my promise to you. I love you. God bless you all. Thanks for the follows. Thanks for the support and the love. Until next time.